Back when I watched the show Naruto for the first time, I was immediately hooked, and I watched as many episodes as I could each day to catch up with Naruto Shippuden, as new episodes were still being released at the time. Since I loved the show so much, I wanted to feel more involved, and what better way to do that than by playing a game based on the series. At the time, the most popular games were the Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm games, but since I hadn't watched all of the episodes yet, I decided to first play Naruto Rise of a Ninja. I picked that game over the first Storm game since I didn't have a PlayStation 3 yet, and that game was a PlayStation 3 exclusive. After Rise of a Ninja, I played all of the Storm games on my Xbox 360, and later Storm 4 when that was released for the PlayStation 4. Now it's time to jump back further in time and look at the first game developed by CyberConnect 2, Naruto Ultimate Ninja.
You and me, right now, fair and square, let's go!
The game starts with an awesome intro that uses footage from the openings of the show. The story is told in a scenario mode, but it's very basic and only loosely covers the events of the series. And only if you're familiar with the series will you understand what's going on and why these characters are fighting each other. Still, there are plenty of fights that never took place in the show, so as a story mode it does a poor job. But what makes it worthwhile to play through is that by completing scenarios you unlock characters and more scenarios for others. Each scenario will take you around 15 to 30 minutes, and the majority of scenarios include 6 fights, though there are 2 exceptions with Haku and Zabuza only having 4 fights. So how is the gameplay? Well, it's not the most fleshed out, but it's certainly a love letter to the show, with characters being able to perform special techniques and jutsus that they also use in the show. To successfully perform special techniques you need to press specific buttons within a certain time limit. Pull this off and you will deal more damage, and as the defender you can press the right buttons to reduce the damage taken. And each character has not just 1 but 3 special techniques, with all of them requiring a different amount of chakra, which you can get from destroying objects in the stages or by knocking your opponent on the ground. Aside from these techniques, some characters like Kakashi and Sasuke can use their Sharingan, Neji can use his Byakugan, and Rock Lee can enter one of the 8 gates. There's a variety of stages to choose from, which are multi-layered so you can hop between places, which I find a great addition, though the CPU has a tendency to sometimes constantly hop between the 2 places, dragging out the fight, but this is just a minor nitpick. There are also support characters that aren't playable, like Kabuto or Iruka, and these can help you throughout the fight by offering items or using one of their techniques to damage your opponent. Aside from the scenario mode, there's also the mission mode, where you need to win matches with specific requirements, but I quickly lost interest in that mode as the missions aren't that interesting, with them being identical to regular matches apart from the conditions to complete the mission. But if you want to unlock the 2 final characters you will have to do these. In terms of graphics, the character models and environment still hold up, though there are also 2D character models in the background that don't look as good, and it's obvious that these aren't 3D, but as long as you just focus on hitting your opponent they aren't too big of a distraction. I also like the addition of having characters on the loading screens, which makes it less tedious while you wait for another match. For voice acting the default setting is English dub. I was afraid that this will be the only option, and this became extremely annoying when Naruto repeatedly said believe it over and over again. But luckily in the settings you can change it to the Japanese voice acting, which is way better in my opinion. On top of that, this game has an awesome soundtrack, which sounds a lot like the soundtrack of the Storm games, which is not surprising since they all have the same composer, and the tracks fit perfectly with the game. In the end, I can conclude that I enjoyed playing Naruto Ultimate Ninja, but the gameplay does get repetitive after a while, so it's only enjoyable for short playtimes. And even then, I was only enjoying it because I am a fan of Naruto. So if you've never seen the show or read the manga, don't bother playing this game, as the overall combat is simplistic and repetitive. Still, considering this is their first take on a Naruto game, CyberConnect 2 did a great job in making you feel immersed in the world of Naruto.
どうあがいても無駄よ。死になさい。あっけないわね。